How Do We Relationship by Tammy Full is a very meaningful piece of Yuri media that features an intense roster of characters that can only be described as unique and well written. Amongst these characters, we see various relationships, but to me, one relationship has caught my attention the most, and that relationship is none other than the relationship between Tamaki Shishio and Miwa Inuzuka. In today's video, we will be exploring Miwa and Tamaki's relationship from start to finish and how it brought something new to the Yuri scene. Before we begin, I do have an important disclaimer. Initially, this video was solely going to focus on Tamaki. I was going to break down her character and kind of explain her mechanics. But halfway through the video, I realized that it's kind of impossible to tell Tamaki's story without the inclusion of Miwa. Leaving Miwa out but including Tamaki is just not very possible. So as the video progresses, you may see an initial focus on Tamaki, but eventually that will overlap into a focus more centered on both characters. Once again, this was an oversight on my end that I'm quite upset about, but nonetheless, I hope you all still enjoy this video. Tamaki is introduced in Volume 6, Chapter 2, titled Interested in That Girl, where she's seen sitting alone at a party for the first year band club members. Upon being approached by Miwa and Saiko, Tamaki is immediately portrayed as being stern, as she almost instantly appears to be annoyed at their confrontation. But despite Miwa and Saiko's attempts to gel with Tamaki, she makes a conscious effort to draw a fine line between them, even encouraging them to not waste time speaking with her. But despite Tamaki's attempts at creating distance between herself and the people around her, Miwa still finds herself interested, wanting to extend a hand out so that she doesn't have to be alone, very similar to what Saiko did for her. Although Tamaki has a blunt side and is shown on numerous occasions as being uninterested in socialization, she does also have a very honest side and is even able to acknowledge her flaws. These aspects about Tamaki that we see in her first appearance generate such a unique feel that no other character in this series has really matched. In the following chapter, Tamaki and Miwa find themselves alone, where we see our first real hints of any romance between the two. However, that romance is almost immediately undercut as we're once again grounded in the harsh reality that Tamaki may not be interested in women. To further that idea, in chapter 55, we also learn that Tamaki had a boyfriend and the aforementioned boyfriend has just dumped her. This breakup becomes a moment of vulnerability for Tamaki, where we see her shell really crack for the first time. Tamaki's breakup was by no means easy. She finds herself feeling frustrated, going as far as saying that she wants to kill her ex and the girl that he cheated on her with. Due to Tamaki's feelings, which she believes astray from the traditional feelings that other girls may feel during a breakup, Tamaki believes that she is just the type of girl that people don't like. Tamaki's words are very self-deprecating, but above all, they give insight into things that Tamaki has been told that influence her image of herself. Tamaki's breakdown here, followed by Miwa's company, further develops the bond between these two immensely, and in the next few chapters, Tamaki and Miwa keep in contact thoroughly, and by chapter 58, Tamaki's disappointment at hearing about how Miwa doesn't have a thing for her reveals Tamaki's developing feelings. Over the next few chapters, Tamaki's feelings for Miwa grow all the more as she's now comfortable clinging to Miwa in public and overall just being close to Miwa, which is a far cry from the Tamaki of even 4 chapters ago. However, Miwa is still being burdened by the memories of her past love, unintentionally rejects Tamaki's advances, and in response, Tamaki unintentionally puts distance between them, telling Miwa that she can't imagine ever dating her without even elaborating. Tamaki's words come to Miwa in the form of a gut punch. On one side of the coin, Miwa is happy that she was able to avoid another impossible love, while on the other side of the coin, she feels hurt that she can't be anything more to Tamaki. This is the first real conflict that we see between the two before they even begin dating. After these events, Tamaki and Miwa continue to occasionally talk, but nowhere near to the same degree as they were before. However, one day, by pure coincidence, Tamaki finds herself at Miwa's job, and once again, by pure coincidence, Tamaki overhears Miwa explaining the characteristics of her crush, which surprisingly resembles her, leading Tamaki to the belief that Miwa has a crush on her. The following day, Tamaki feels the need to talk to Miwa about what she overheard at her job, and also about the noticeable distance coming between them. So Tamaki comes forward and reveals her thoughts and feelings. The reason why Tamaki told Miwa she couldn't imagine ever dating her isn't because she didn't like her, it was because Tamaki was still conflicted on her feelings. She didn't know how to feel about liking and dating another woman. But after Miwa's quote-unquote confession, Tamaki realized that she wasn't bothered hearing about how Miwa felt about her, and even goes as far as saying that she reciprocates those same feelings. But, Miwa clears up the misunderstanding, and now it's awkward again. But regardless of the misunderstanding, Tamaki is aware of her feelings for Miwa, and she embraces them. Seriously, Tamaki goes all out. And finally, in chapter 68, Tamaki confesses her feelings to Miwa and asks her out. Tamaki and Miwa's relationship from this point onward progresses very steadily, with the occasional, life proving to cause problems. But as their relationship continues to grow more intimate and more physical, a new problem arises to the surface. Tamaki isn't really interested in the same way that Miwa is, which, to be frank, aligns with Tamaki's character and what we've seen from her thus far. But what's interesting about this conflict is that we were actually made aware of the fact that this would be a future issue all the way back in chapter 9, where Miwa outright states that she gets this feeling where once her switch is flipped, there's no turning back. The foreshadowing of this conflict throughout the series is so genius. Returning back to Tamaki and Miwa, this collision of libidos starts out as a subtle issue. It's something that, for a while, we see glimpses of, but isn't truly further explored until chapter 90, where Tamaki opens up to Saiko about their relationship problem. Tamaki, as we established earlier, isn't really one for but in order to accommodate to Miwa's needs, Tamaki often feels the obligation to have sex with her. Tamaki also clears up the notion regarding her having no sex drive, which is funny because not only did Saiko question this, but any website you go on to read How Do We Relationship, you have the people in the comments questioning the exact same thing. In Tamaki's own words, she does have a sex drive, but unlike Miwa's, and, well, pretty much everyone else we've seen in the series thus far, it is just not very strong. Tamaki is also an avid believer in the fact that there's other ways to have fun and express love, even without having to rely on sex every time. This conversation between Saiko marks not only a divide in Miwa and Tamaki's relationship, but also a divide in their core beliefs. As Miwa and Tamaki engage in more sexual activity, Tamaki gradually begins to pull away more and more, until it reaches the point where her dissatisfaction with sex couldn't be more noticeable. No longer is this issue of conflicting libidos something subtle. It's something that interferes with the very foundation of their relationship. Miwa is a character who expresses her love and feelings through intimacy with her partner, whereas Tamaki is a character who expresses her love through more internal means. Inherently, these characters are just very different. But still, Tamaki tries to push forth through everything playing against them, having sex with Miwa whenever Miwa wants, yet not being able to fully match her drive. It goes without saying, but this is extremely unhealthy. Tamaki isn't having sex with Miwa because she herself likes it. She does it with Miwa because Miwa enjoys it. It's not very mutual. In chapter 97, we see the beginning of the downfall for this couple. Miwa, who is caught in the moment, attempts to engage in sex with Tamaki, but Tamaki makes it clear that she does not want it. But regardless, Miwa continues, seemingly not noticing Tamaki's frustration. So Tamaki has to get slightly physical with Miwa to stop her, and even goes as far as questioning why Miwa always resorts to just having sex. This is a very important scene in How Do We Relationship that impacts Miwa for the rest of this series. Tamaki's outlash, Tamaki's rejection towards Miwa and her devices becomes a genuine point of recurring pain for her. This is one of the moments where Miwa starts viewing her sexual drive as something to shun, something about herself that needs to change. To further elaborate on what I mean when I say that this becomes a point of recurring pain for Miwa, in chapter 120, which is way farther in the series, towards the end even, we see during conversation with Saiko, this is directly addressed, stemming from her relationship with Tamaki. And I really do want to say this here, I love how this issue remains present. It feels like in the long run it added more substance to Miwa and Tamaki's relationship. That relationship actually left a scar on Miwa's character. You don't see that very often within series. Okay, back to the present time. In the next chapter after Tamaki's refusal, chapter 98, for the first time, this issue of conflicting drives is finally addressed by our characters. Yes, Tamaki does love Miwa, and yes, she does enjoy doing all the things that come with but she isn't a fan of being strung around by their sexual desire. It's something that she, as a person, just isn't the most fond of. And Tamaki even questions if having sex with her is the only way that she can prove her love to Miwa. Tamaki's words stagger Miwa. She doesn't know what to say. And this conversation draws an invisible line between the two where something has to change. Acknowledging that, Miwa believes that the problem is primarily with her. So in an effort to prove to Tamaki that she can love her without the addition of physicality, Miwa takes it upon herself to be the one who changes. And in order to do that, the only way that she knows how is to abandon her sexual desire in order to be someone who can stay by Tamaki regardless. And once again, this is not a very healthy solution. It's just clutching at straws, trying to salvage something that at this point is no longer salvageable. So, of course, this fails, almost immediately even. If anything, all this does is put more distance between them than what was already starting to emerge. Miwa is trying to change a core aspect of herself to align with Tamaki, and even if, in some world, that did work, Tamaki would not be satisfied with that. Tamaki absolutely hates Miwa's decision, so she tries to get Miwa to go back on her resolve, to go back to how they previously were before this became something that divided them. The only way that she can really do that is by showing Miwa that she doesn't mind having sex with her, so that's what Tamaki does. And Miwa, despite knowing that she needs to turn down Tamaki's advances, physically can't resist it. She can't resist it when Tamaki offers herself to her. She wants to indulge in Tamaki, even if her pride tells her otherwise. These conflicting feelings, paired with Miwa's realization that her resolve has shattered, results in a complete blank-out state where Miwa is entirely lost. It's one of the most heart-wrenching scenes in this entire series. Both characters are trying so hard to make this work, but no matter what they do, nothing ever seems to work out without the expense of sacrificing core aspects of their characters. This is one of the points that becomes an area of trauma for Miwa. She feels so helpless, she feels so disgusting. This is an emotionally charged moment that not only spells the end of Miwa and Tamaki, but also spells the start of a long internal battle for Miwa. Unsurprisingly, in the following scenes, Miwa and Tamaki break up. Tamaki is absolutely heartbroken. Above all, she wanted to avoid this outcome, which is why she tried as hard as she did to stay with Miwa through everything, but in the end, it was completely futile. They were doing more harm than good to one another, if anything, and if they continue to stay together, there's no doubts that one of them would have cracked completely. But at the end of this chapter, Tamaki comes to the frightening, yet needed realization that Miwa had long since come to the conclusion that they needed to break up, which was the cherry on top of this fallout. Miwa and Tamaki's relationship showcases a very real issue that I don't think I've ever seen get explored in a story before, Yuri aside. Differing drives is something that gets overlooked a lot both in media and in real life, but Tamiful doesn't just acknowledge the issue. We get to see how this issue slowly expands and affects the characters, and then ultimately leads to this relationship crumbling. It is not easy to tell a story like this, especially one talking about an issue this complex, which most other series would just rather choose to avoid. But Tamiful doesn't, and it's for this reason why I love How Do We Relationship. It's also why I love Miwa and Tamaki. I've never seen a relationship quite like this before in any other series. Even after their heartbreak, Miwa and Tamaki remain friends, and Tamaki, who at one point struggled to accept that their relationship wouldn't last, turns the pain that her first love caused into music, creating a name for herself in the process. There are no loose ends, there is no bitterness, just two people growing up and figuring out how to relationship. If you guys enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, especially if you want more How Do We relationship from me, and I'll see you all in my next one.